The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Let me just say, after video distorting the belt, they're proclaiming the real world champion. I'm going to tell y'all, with a tear in my eye, this is the greatest moment in my life. When you walk around this world and you tell everybody you're number one, the only way you get to stay number one is to be number one.
And good morning, everybody. It's a free-for-all Friday here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza. We are live here on the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. And, of course, we are powered up by Belly Up Sports. And we want to take this time out to remind you that you can follow us on our show here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza on our Facebook page, or follow us on Twitter at The Real Captain Lou, or send us an email, sweetlou1965 at yahoo.com. Lots to talk about here this morning on this free-for-all Friday, as a lot going on this week in the world of sports. Of course, the PGA-LIV Tour merger. Call it a merger, don't call it a merger, whatever you want to call it. They are obviously at the top of the headlines, especially in the world of golf. Well, 1 week away from the U.S. Open. We'll kind of give you an update on what's going on with that as well. The Stanley Cup Finals. Game 3 last night. We've got ourselves a series. Florida and Vegas. Vegas outplayed Florida probably for about 2.5 periods, but they didn't outplay them when it counted the most, when it was 2-2, or 2-1 rather, as Matthew Tkachuk got the game-tying goal on a 6-on-5. And, of course, Carter Verhaeghe with the winner in overtime. So 2-1 in favor now of Vegas. Game 4 tomorrow night, a big game for both teams, and we'll talk about the psyche of both teams, and also we'll go through the game again in Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Finals. NBA Finals are in Game 4 tonight. Denver with a big win the other night, Wednesday night, over Miami on Miami's home court. Denver didn't relinquish that lead. They look good. Miami really didn't play bad, but Denver, when you've got a guy like Nikola Jokic with getting a 30, 20, and 10, what can you do? He's probably one of the most unstoppable forces right now in the NBA. And it's going to be interesting to see what those two teams have in common coming up here in game, or it's not really in common, but what are they going to do? What's their plan coming up in Game 4 of the NBA Finals, which again, coming up tonight. It's a big game for Miami. They pretty much need this one. They don't want to go down 3-1 heading back to Denver for Game 5. In the NFL, Dalvin Cook, he's getting released. They pretty much announced that he was going to be released. His contract will probably be terminated today. What's next for him? A big free agent out on the market. Is the running back market, or is it devalued? What does he have left in the tank? And, why would Miami want to get rid of him? We'll have to wait and see on that. We'll probably never know. But who is next for Dalvin Cook? I believe he's got a lot left in the tank as well. So we'll talk about that. And for those of you that know here on the network or on the show that we follow pro wrestling from time to time, one of the greats in pro wrestling passed away earlier this week. One of the trailblazers, I guess you could call it. The Iron Sheik passed away at the age of 81. The boom of pro wrestling in the early 80s with Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, Roddy Piper, the whole bit, and also with the WWE. It all started with that match with Hulk Hogan in Madison Square Garden in 1984, January 23rd, 1984 to be exact. And it all started with them. And we'll talk a little bit about the Iron Sheik, who passed away at the age of 81. We want to mention as well that our show is brought to you as always by MaulerBros.com. Check out their website, MaulerBros.com, and see their great selection of T-shirts and, of course, golf shirts. They've got sleek designs. They've got loud. They've got more conservative looks, tumblers, mugs, you name it. And as we always say, If you want to look good on the golf course, you look good, you feel good. You feel good, then you'll play good. That is MahlerBros.com. And again, use the promo code BELLYUP for 15% off of your purchase. And we also this morning would like to announce a new sponsor, a new member of the Captain Lou Extravaganza family, HobbyCoffee.com. It's a great new way of instant coffee. It's not coffee pods. It's instant. You take 1 to 2 teaspoons, hot or cold, and it tastes really great. And it's a new innovation in instant coffee. And we're excited to have them as a member of the Captain Lou Extravaganza family, the Captain Lou Sports Network. Check out the website, HobbyCoffee.com, and make sure you use the promo code Captain Lou. It's that simple. You see it on the bottom of the screen, and you will get 15% off of your purchase. That is HobbyCoffee.com. Well, we mentioned it is day 3 of the LIV Tour merger. We'll talk about that in a little while, but let's get to the Stanley Cup Finals last night. We'll talk about that first and foremost. They game 3 last night in Florida, and it was a must-win for the Panthers. We talked about it the other day. You know, it's very difficult for a team to win 4 out of 5. But when you're talking about this Florida Panther team, nothing's too different or difficult for them, it seems like, this year. We all know how they started out the playoff run. They trailed Boston 3-1, going back to Boston for game 5. They put Bob in net, Sergei Bobrovsky, and he's taken off from there. Well, they needed a performance from him last night to get them back in this series, again, trailing 2-0. And indeed, he was unbelievable in net. He only had 25 saves, which is crazy. You think, if he was that unbelievable, he would have probably had 45 or 50 saves. If you watched the game last night, you saw some of those point-blank saves that he made when Vegas was throwing everything at him, power plays, whatever. And it was amazing, the performance that he had in net. They needed it out of him. And Florida got on the board first with the opening goal. And, then Brandon Montour, brand new father. He got home from game 2, and then Wednesday, they had their baby. And what did he do? How did he handle it? He got the opening goal, 4:08 of the opening period. Matthew Tkachuk with his 13th goal, 13 assist rather. Eric Stahl with his 3rd assist, and it was 1-0. And boy, you thought, okay, here we go. Maybe the Panthers can write it. But then Jonathan Marchessault, in my opinion, now if Vegas wins, he's got to be a strong contender for the Conn Smythe. I think he's had a great playoff run, 13th goal of the playoffs, and he got the go-ahead goal for Vegas in the second period. Now, in the opening period, Mark Stone got another power play goal again for Vegas. Marchessault with the assist, Shea Theodore as well. And that was at 16:03. And Marchessault, again, with the helper, was 1-1. And then he got the go-ahead goal in the second period. And, another power play goal for Vegas. And, we talked about it, the special teams play. We've talked about it all series, about how Florida, their special teams play, their penalty kill throughout the playoffs coming into the Stanley Cup has been stellar. And they gave up a couple of power play goals. This goal by Marchessault really, to me, it looked like it was going to be insurmountable. They're up 2-1. They had all the momentum in the world. Florida looked dead on the ice. They just couldn't get anything going. And whenever they had the opportunities with the extra man, Aiden Hill was thwarting them. And then Vegas got opportunities with the extra attacker too. But we talked about it. Bobrovsky was able to he played strong in net for the Florida, to say the least. Some of these sliding saves that he made to keep it a 2-1 lead. And then in the third period, again, Florida just couldn't get anything going. And when they had opportunities, Hill was good. He was adequate in net. I will say that it's hard to say that he played bad. He didn't play bad in net at all. But when the play of Bobrovsky in net was incredible, and keeping them in that game. But then Vegas couldn't put them away. Again, we talked about it. They pulled the goalie with about 2.5 minutes to go, 3 minutes to go, down 2-1. Florida was able to get the pressure on in the Vegas zone. And then Matthew Tkachuk, he got the rebound. And all of a sudden, here we go. It's 2-2. And after taking that monster hit, a clean hit, by the way. Kolasar laid on him in the opening period. He comes back with that game-winning goal, game-tying goal on 6 and 5. And then, of course, into overtime, he played a pivotal role on that, helping screen Aiden Hill. It looked like, I still say looked like he tipped that game-winning goal by Carter Verhaeghe in net to put Florida over the top with a 3-2 lead. But I'm going to tell you, it begs the question now, with Florida not being able to put, or Vegas not even being able to put Florida away. They wasted a lot of opportunities. We talked about it here throughout the show already, second and third opportunities. And in my opinion, thoroughly outplayed Florida in the last couple of periods. And all of a sudden, this is what happens. And this is the beauty of Stanley Cup hockey or NHL, any kind of hockey. You can outplay a team, but if you're not able to put them away in that last couple of minutes, Florida, Paul Maurice pulled Bobrovsky for the extra attacker. They got the puck in the Vegas zone. The forecheck was there. They were able to get the shot from the top, and then Tkachuk was able to tip it in. Boom, 2-2. Then Vegas gets they draw the penalty, so they go on the power play to begin the overtime. Can't score. And you could see Florida gaining the confidence, and then they got to play back in the Vegas zone. And that blast from Tkachuk, or from Verhaeghe, rather, from just outside the face-off circle. And then it goes past Aiden Hill. Here we go, 6-5. Or I'm sorry, 3-2, the final score. Florida now cuts that lead to 2-1, and we go back. Begs the question, what is going to be the mindset of Vegas coming into Game 4? You can think about it. If Vegas would have lost this game and got over or just thoroughly outplayed, let's say they lost 5-1, which happens in these in these playoffs. You go to the other team's barn, and they got all the momentum. They've got the home ice. They come out guns a-blazing, if you will. All of a sudden, they're up 5-1. Then you think, all right, you go home, you think that one's just we'll put that one in the no-look file, and we'll just concentrate on Game 4. A game like this, Game 3, where Vegas more than once had an opportunity to put a 2-goal lead up on Florida. So many opportunities, especially in the third period, could not get that third goal up on Florida rather. And Florida just was so opportunistic, like they have been all year. And, just like when they played against Carolina, thoroughly outshot throughout the series, thoroughly outshot. But you talk about Johnny on the spot, opportunistic hockey for Florida, able to take advantage of the 6-on-5, and all of a sudden they get the game-tying goal, and then they go into overtime, as we mentioned, and they put the game winner past Aiden Hill. What is Vegas thinking now going into Game 4? Obviously, they have to have the mindset, put that one in the no-look file, but you go home and you go to sleep at night, you're thinking, what could have been? Is it going to be in the back of their minds? And if you're Florida now, you can do it. You're back in this series. Game 4 tomorrow night is going to be a huge game. If Florida can win this one, they hold serve. It's 2-2 going back to Vegas, and all bets are off. This is going to be an exciting series. I still think Florida, if they win tomorrow night, I picked them in 6. Bobrovsky had a great game, a great comeback game after getting yanked in Game 2 against Vegas in that game. One stat to keep in mind here with Florida, they're 7-0 in overtimes in this postseason. And you talk about a confidence builder right there. That's huge for them. So Game 4 tomorrow night, Florida and Vegas. It's going to be a wait. Now, we'll see what the momentum brings on Game 4. If you're Florida, can they keep that? Can they ride that? Get the upper hand, in the opening period, or can Vegas shut it down and use their depth, take advantage of the power plays? Florida again playing just some uncharacteristic hockey at times. Drawing a lot of getting a lot of penalties, shorthanded. In this instance, another 2 power play goals for Vegas, but they couldn't get them when it counted in overtime. So we'll wait and see. Game 4 tomorrow night as Vegas looks to go up 3-1. Florida looking to even up that series to take it back to Vegas. NBA Finals. We'll talk about that momentarily, but once before we do, let's talk a little bit about MahlerBros.com. Hey, you're out golfing today. You're out, trying to get that emergency 9 in or playing 18 this afternoon, and it's warm. It's about 80 degrees outside, 85 degrees, no wind. Maybe playing in a little bit of the Canadian wildfire smoke here in the United States. and you're getting sweaty, and it's affecting your game, and you're thinking, God, I just don't feel right. And maybe it's because of the attire that you're wearing out on the golf course, or you want to go out later that night, or you're going to a barbecue, and you're overheated there, whatever. Well, if you want to feel good at that outing or feel good on the golf course, may I suggest MahlerBros.com. They've got a complete selection of polos and t-shirts, sleek design. They're lightweight, form-fitting. And, again, you'll look good on the golf course. You'll look good at that party. When you look good, you feel good. And when you're on the golf course, when you feel good, you're going to play good. That you're going to get that added advantage up here. Check out our website, MahlerBros.com, and make sure when you go there and you find that shirt, that polo shirt, or maybe, they've got mugs, they've got cups, all kinds of swag. You find whatever you want for Father's Day or whatever. Make sure when you get to checkout, use the promo code BELLYUP, and you'll get 15% off of your purchase. That's MahlerBros.com, MahlerBros.com, and use the promo code BELLYUP. You'll get 15% off of your discount. That's or off your purchase. That is MahlerBros.com. All right, as we continue here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza, again, we are live on the Captain Lou Sports Network, powered up by Belly Up Sports. And a reminder that, check out our website, bellyupsports.com. We've got a complete list of all of our podcasters, all of our shows that we have here on the network. And, of course, check out our articles talking about the LIV Tour merger with PGA, talking about the NBA and NHL finals, Major League Baseball. And we're starting to talk a little bit now about the NFL, some of the things going on. 6 weeks from now, training camp will be underway. And less than 2 months, we'll have our first preseason game. And then we're about 90 days away from opening kickoff, Detroit and Kansas City. The Lions restore the roar, baby. Here we go. The Lions with an opportunity. Everybody's picking them to take that next step. But you can read about all the articles about that and watch the podcast talking about the NFL and everything else. Our complete lineup at bellyupsports.com. We, again, are privileged to be a part of the network. A lot of great things going on, college football as well. We'll talk about that, of course, throughout the year. NBA Finals, as we mentioned, Game 4 coming up tonight in Miami. Game 3, of course, Denver took the upper hand in Game 3. What can you say about Nikola Jokic? 32 points, I think, 22 rebounds, 12 assists, something like that, a 30-20-10. It's never been done, or one of the few times it's ever been done in the playoffs and in the NBA Finals. Again, he's unstoppable right now. And I don't know how many times we talk about it with Nikola Jokic. And, a good friend of the show, kind of talk back and forth with him, Steve Finnemore. He, our basketball insider, maybe we'll get him on next week to kind of wrap up the NBA Finals. I know he's very busy. The court vision of Nikola Jokic, I talked about it the other day, reminds me so much of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar back in the 70s and 80s. I mean, he just has that presence. He's got the step back three that Kareem may not have had, but, they're talking about already putting him up as one of the greatest centers of all time. I'm not ready to go there yet, but I think that he may be able to get in that stratosphere. But right now, nobody has an answer for him. And he's so, it's kind of a combination of old school basketball, going to the basket, with the beautiful, the assists, the rebounds, and defense, how he alters the shot. That, I think, gets lost in all of this as well. And then, of course, with the step back three that he has, it's just incredible. And now there's a big question. What can Miami do to even up Game 4 tonight? That there's a lot. That's the big question, obviously. What can they do? I don't think Jimmy Butler's played that bad. And Bam Adebayo, we'll talk about that we talked about it at the beginning of the series. He had to step up, and he has. I've really been impressed with the play of Bam Adebayo. And, one of the things I've been watching on, some of the talk shows and listening to some of the interviews after the game, Jimmy Butler, they're saying that he hasn't showed up. And I don't buy that. Jimmy Buckets, or Playoff Jimmy, has given us incredible, insane performances in the playoffs, throughout the years in Miami. And, it just begs the question, I think we've been spoiled with what he's done. And, now maybe we're expecting too much out of him. Is he trying to facilitate the other guys on his team a little bit? I don't know. But, I think he's played well. He's stepped up in the playoffs. We talked about this on Wednesday that Miami has the most playoff wins out of anybody in the last 4 years in the NBA Finals. Now, a breakout performance tonight from Jimmy Butler, is that what Miami's going to need to get by? 35 points or whatever, a dozen rebounds, a triple-double or whatever. Who else has to step up? Kevin Love. I know he starts for him. He's getting about 6-7 points a game maybe. But, here's the scary part too. We could talk about Denver in a moment, but, Duncan Robinson, I know he's a force out there. Kyle Lowry, do they need to get more out of him? I don't know. I mean, obviously the thing that they have to look for is to see who can they get to stop Nikola Jokic. What is the game plan going to be? They're going to have to switch out. Did they double team him? And if they do, here's a player for Denver that really hasn't done much in the finals, and that's Michael Porter Jr. I mean, Jamal Murray had that triple-double along with Nikola Jokic in Game 3. Crazy. I mean, what happens if Michael Porter Jr. gets warmed up in Game 3? How is Miami going to answer that? So a lot of question marks going into Game 4 tonight. And, we talked about this on Wednesday as well with Miami coming into Game 4. Was that performance on Game 2, was that their peak? I mean, they didn't play badly in Game 3 the other night. I didn't think they did. It's just Denver stepped up their game. I'm not going to take anything away from Miami in Game 2. Denver didn't play that good. A lot of that was on Miami. Denver took a lot of uncharacteristically bad shots in Game 2. Their effort may have been a little lackadaisical. Maybe that's what comes with always winning and, not losing in the playoffs at home this year and not with their backs up against the wall. It was a huge answer for Denver in Game 3. Maybe the pressure was on them to win Game 3. They had to come into Miami and gain a split to get home court advantage back, and Denver did. Now for Miami, this is a big game for them in Game 4. Like we said, obviously, you don't want to go up to Denver down 3-1 and have to face a winner go home scenario in Game 5. So this is big. How are they going to stop Jokic? Can they hit their 3-pointers? They're going to have to. Jimmy Buckets is probably going to have one of those performances. He's going to have a 35-point performance or a 40-point performance. Duncan Robinson's going to have to get in double figures. I don't know. There's a lot to be asked in this one. No Tyler Hero tonight in Game 4. So that's, I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing, but now for Miami, it's big. They honestly have to get this game tonight. Going back to Denver 3-1, I think is going to be an insurmountable task. That means they'd have to win 2 games up in Denver, and I just don't see it happening. But, we'll have to wait and see. Should be a great game tonight. And again, not a poorly played final by any stretch of the imagination. I thought Denver in Game 1, they just overpowered them, got out fast, and, Miami couldn't get their sea legs until it was a little too late. Game 2, Miami got those sea legs, played very, very well. Denver, not so much, but again, I attribute a lot of that to Miami's defense. And then in Game 3, Denver answered the call. They came out with a purpose, I thought. Nikola Jokic, with that mindset, just so unassuming, played really well. Just, again, had a monster game. But we've come to expect that with him right now. And with Game 4 coming up tonight, we'll wait and see. Will Jokic get another triple-double? Will Jamal Murray keep it up? And what is Miami going to do in Game 4? So a lot to look forward to tonight in that for Game 4, 8 o'clock on ABC, as they look to try to even up that series at 2 apiece. Well, here again, welcome everybody to the Captain Lou Extravaganza. We are live here on the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. We invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can see all of our interviews, all of our past shows. We will have this show downloaded podcast style on iTunes and Apple and Spotify. Wherever you find your podcasts, we invite you to subscribe and listen to all of our shows here on podcast form as well while you're out driving or whatever you may be doing. So again, we welcome you. Without you, none of this could be possible. And we appreciate you taking time to check us out, even if it's just for a few minutes here on the show here on this Friday, and all of our shows here on the Captain Lou Sports Network. It's going to be a fun year coming up with football season around the corner, and baseball with the pennant drive as well. We'll talk more and more baseball here after the Stanley Cup Finals and the NBA Finals. So make sure you stick around for that. And also with college football coming around the corner. PGA Live Tour, day 3 of the so-called merger. And still, the thing about it is we really still don't know a whole lot about it. Now, I invite you to check out SI.com in their golf section. A great, great article there, trying to break it down, kind of giving the nuts and bolts a little bit of it. But there's just so much to unravel about this. It's things obviously will get leaked out as we go on, I guess the first big question is it really a merger? And will there be ramifications for the Live Tour members if they come back? Now, apparently there may be. I don't know. With the PIF fund running the Live Tour, Jay Monahan is going to be the CEO of this quote-unquote merger or dissolving of the Live Tour. We don't know if the Live Tour is going to go away. Are they going to stay their own entity? And if they are, the next question is, why would they want to go to the PGA Tour? You've got guys like Brooks Koepka, who seems to step up for the majors, Bryson DeChambeau, Cam Smith, whatever. If they're going to keep the Live Tour with the purses the way they are, why would they want to play in the PGA tournaments if they're going to be allowed to play in the majors? And as they should. The PGA doesn't control the Masters. They don't, that, and the PGA Association controls the PGA Championship. The USGA controls the US Open. The PGA itself doesn't control those majors. So if they're going to stay the same, if it's going to be status quo, which, I don't know. Personally, I don't think it will. But if it was to stay the same, what begged, why would the Live Tour players want to go back? And, we talked about this on Wednesday a little bit. Will Rory and the other top golfers get maybe some upfront compensation if, once this all boils down, for example, will they get part of $1 billion pie or whatever? And they get that, spread out over 10 years. And the Live Tour players, if they come back, they're ineligible for it. I don't know. These are just some of the questions that are being asked about this. And, again, so much to unravel. Nobody has the answers yet. And, you haven't heard any of the big guns talking really after Jay Monahan with his interview the other day after the players meeting. So it's all I know is what I have heard. And again, this is through that article on SI. I invite you, if you really want to get up on this one, read that article in the golf section. It's very informative and kind of, it asks some of these questions too. Now, the claim is the PGA is going to evaluate the Live Tour at the end of the year, and they'll see maybe if they're going to still quote unquote merge, if they're going to play separately, they're going to dissolve some of the tournaments. Some of the things that they do on the Live Tour, will they bring those into the PGA Tour, like team play, letting them wear shorts, whatever, 54-hole tournaments. I don't see that happening. I don't think you'll ever see 54-hole tournaments, only because I think it's going to be just like baseball, their talk of shortening the season, or basketball. They're never going to do that. There's no way that the PGA is going to go 72 holes or go away from 72 holes because there's too much revenue that's going to be lost. And so I just think, when it comes to the Live Tour, some of their things may be brought over to the PGA Tour, but I don't know. I just nobody really knows. And the more you look at it, it is a business venture. And again, you got to put politics aside by this. And I know the atrocities that have been portrayed and that have happened. But if you think the PGA Tour is the only ones that are involved with the Saudi money or any of the overseas money, that's the thing. all of a sudden everybody's in an uproar and they're putting the scarlet letter on a lot of these players. I don't buy that, and again, I go back to the NBA. It's like I posted on Twitter. You can follow me at the Real Captain Lou. I posted it yesterday. For those of you that watched and enjoyed Game 3 of the NBA Finals and you're torching the PGA Tour and the LIV players, why aren't you torching some of these NBA players that, are getting their huge salaries, and part of it is funded by Chinese sweatshop money? So, I mean, it's there. It's a hypocrisy, and we all live it in pro sports. We want to bash everybody, but, this isn't just the only entity. And again, it goes back to what I asked the other day as well. What is next as far as Saudi involvement with sports, sports washing maybe in American sports? What is this going to be the only pro entity that is going to have Saudi investments? I don't think it is. I think you're going to see in the next 5 or 10 years, we talk about it. You've got struggling franchises in all 4 sports. Look at baseball. Look at the Oakland A's. If a Saudi group comes in, with a PIF kind of arrangement, and they offer somebody $15 billion or whatever, do you think that a major league team is going to be, is going to look at that and say, well, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to turn away. But the thing that I think is going to stall the Saudi investments in pro sports, in my opinion, is that with the NHL or the NBA, especially the NBA, Major League Baseball, and then probably the NHL too, is they've got to be the sale of a team has to be approved, at least in the NFL, by a 2/3 majority, 23 or 24 teams. And I don't know if it's going to get that approval just yet, unless, as they say, as the $1 million man, Ted DiBiase, always said, everybody's got a price. So we'll have to wait and see. But, it's must-see TV. It's going to be must-see TV next week with the U.S. Open, with all the major players there. And, the microphones are going to be in their faces. What's your opinion of this? What's your opinion of that? And hopefully we can get some sound bites on that. And it's going to be just make it that extra added element to watch with the U.S. Open coming up starting next Thursday, Father's Day weekend. And so so again, PGA and LIV Tour day 3 of the merger, or quote unquote merger, still a lot that we don't know. And there's just so many layers to unpeel with that merger. And if anybody can tell you they got all the answers, I'm all ears, but nobody's really talking. Now you can hear bits and pieces and you can hear guesses. And so I don't know. It's going to be fun to watch. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. We still got a lot to talk about here. We're going to go over to the football side of things here. We had a couple of stories in college football and the NFL that we are going to get to here before we end the show. But first, I want to talk a little bit about our newest member of the Captain Lou Extravaganza family. And excuse me. And that, of course, is being Javi Coffee. We invite you to check out their website, javicopy.com. What it is, it's faster than instant, better tasting than gourmet coffee, and it's easier than coffee pods. It's the newest in innovations for instant coffee. So incredibly convenient. Just simply add 1 or 2 teaspoons of Javi to water or milk of your choice, and delicious drink in seconds. It can be served hot or cold. It's any style coffee that you like. I know those of you that like the iced coffees, still kind of a phenomenon. I guess I'm old school, that I'm not into, but it sure looks good. But also, if you like hot coffee, you just warm your hot water up in seconds. Ultra affordable, ethically sourced, you name it. That is Javi Coffee. Check it out. They've got great flavors. Regular, decaf, caramel, French vanilla. That's going to be my flavor of choice. I can't wait to get mine once it arrives. And it's a great new innovation for coffee, and that's instant coffee. That's Javi Coffee. Try it out, javicopy.com. And of course, when you join or you check it out, go to the website, check it out for yourself. Don't take my word for it. Make sure that you use the promo code Captain Lou for 15% off of your purchase. That's Javi Coffee, the newest member of the Captain Lou Extravaganza family. proud, one of our sponsors here on the Captain Lou Sports Network. We welcome them aboard. That's hobbycoffee.com. Check it out. The latest innovation in instant coffee, better than pods, a lot cleaner, a lot easier than the instant coffee with the crystals or whatever. Hobby coffee, just 1 or 2 teaspoons. That's all you need. You can get your favorite flavor of instant hot coffee or the iced coffee, caramel, French vanilla, you name it, regular, decaf. They've got it. No calories and no sugar. And that's huge. So that's Hobby Coffee. And make sure you use the promo code Captain Lou for 15% off of your purchase. That is Hobby Coffee. And check it out, hobbycoffee.com. Again, welcome back to the show here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at The Real Captain Lou, Instagram and Facebook, Lewis Gamlin, or drop me an email, sweetlou1965 at yahoo.com. We talk about Dalvin Cook at the top of the show. Released by Minnesota yesterday, where they announced it. They're going to release him today. I believe today is when they have to release him. And was this the right move for Minnesota? Obviously, it's a salary cap. A little saving. They're going to get a hit on it, but not as bad as they kept him. What is next for Dalvin Cook? Obviously, the rumors have already started that he wants to go to Miami. I know they were looking to add him. They were looking to trade for him in the offseason or earlier this year, and weren't able to come up with a deal. Now they appears they may have the inside track on him. I know Denver's interested in him. I'm still a little surprised by it. Now, I know that Dalvin's had a lot of issues with that injury, and he hasn't been always reliable. But boy, when he's in there, he's a great dual threat, and I still think he's got something left in the gas tank. And I think this could be a good pickup for a contending team. Miami could really use him. I know he could, team up with Mostert there. Then again, of course, Denver. He'd be a good fit with Russell Wilson, maybe, to help him get back on track. Go join up with Sean Payton with that offense. He could benefit from that. And, we'll have to wait and see. But a little surprised by it. I know they were talking about it's been in the news all off season that Dalvin Cook was going to be released. So you've got 2 big names out there right now in the free agent market, still without a team. Now it's Dalvin Cook and, of course, DeAndre Hopkins, who was released by the Arizona Cardinals earlier. And apparently the rumor has it he's going to visit with Tennessee this weekend, the New England Patriots. I know Detroit has showed some interest in him, Buffalo, Kansas City. The market is wide open for DeAndre Hopkins. But again, I think about the running back situation with Dalvin Cook, or running backs in general. Are they devalued? Obviously this is an offensively geared league right now with the way the rules are with the quarterbacks and whatnot, and the passing game. But boy, 2 big running backs taken in the top 12 of the draft this year, Bijan Robinson with Atlanta, and of course Jahmyr Gibbs with Detroit. They're going to be getting top flight money. Multi-purpose running backs, if you will, dual threats, if you will. I don't know. I think Dalvin Cook is going to. I still think he's got a lot to offer, and don't rule out if they can figure out a way. And there's always a way to navigate the salary cap, circumvent it, however you want to call it. Don't be surprised if the Dallas Cowboys make a run at Dalvin Cook too. With Tony Pollard, we saw what happened last year. They don't have Zeke Elliott anymore, and they needed 2 running backs. Pollard is the guy there, but boy, having a guy like Dalvin Cook as a 1B or 1A, however you want to call it, I wouldn't put it past Jerry Jones. He likes toys and he likes weapons. And I'll tell you, I think Dalvin Cook would be a big weapon in Dallas. So if I had to make a prediction on it, it's going to either be Dallas, Miami, or potentially Denver that will go after his services hot and heavy. He'll probably end up in South Beach, but don't rule out the Dallas Cowboys with an opportunity to go after him and snag Dalvin Cook. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. Elsewhere in the football and news yesterday, kind of affecting us here in the Midwest a little bit, the Big Ten announced their schedules for 24 and 25. Not exactly the dates when they're playing, but the home and away teams. And the other big news is that the Big Ten is doing away with division play starting in 2024. This is going to create something interesting. USC and UCLA are going to be joining the Big Ten for the 2024 season. A lot of excitement in the air for that. And Michigan opens up the 2024 season, or don't open it up. They are going to open up, I guess, Big Ten play for USC, not necessarily the opening game, but USC is going to play Michigan at home this year. And what do you bet that there's going to be some way where this is finagled, maybe the opening game or the opening game of Big Ten play, Michigan at USC. They get UCLA at home later on in the year, and I'm sure that'll probably be a night game with the Big Ten and USC and UCLA, with all the pomp and circumstance of them coming in. But this is going to be fun to watch and find out what the schedule is going to look like. USC and UCLA coming to the Big Ten. I know Michigan State doesn't play either one of these teams in 2024. Then in 2025, they play Michigan State, where Michigan doesn't play these two teams. And they were able to protect, I believe, 2 or 3 rivalries. Each team was in the Big Ten. Michigan chose Michigan State and Ohio State. I think Ohio State only protected one rivalry, and that was Ohio State or Michigan. I know Michigan State protected, I believe, Michigan and Penn State. So, but the other big news with this is the last year of the Big Ten and divisional play. So in 2024, there's going to be no more divisional play. So the biggest scenario everybody's talking about here in the Midwest, I don't know if they're counting their chickens before they're hatched, but the potential of Michigan and Ohio State playing back-to-back in the last game of the year and in the Big Ten championship game. And there's some uproar about it. I don't get it. If they're the two best teams, they deserve to play each other in the Big Ten championship game. They were the two best teams last year, and they were the two best teams the year before that. And Michigan was able to win the championship game and probably the year before that. So, I don't have an issue with it if Michigan and Ohio State are the best two teams playing the last game of the year. What if Michigan State and Penn State are the two best teams? They play the last game of the year, for the land-grant trophy. And what if USC and UCLA are the two best teams? Then they're going to play each other in the last game of the year. Who cares? If they're the two best teams, let them play. I don't see what's so bad about that. What is the argument about that? I mean, it's just like the SEC. What if Georgia and Alabama are the two best teams if they go away with divisional play? Why not let them play back-to-back? They're the two best teams. I hear this talk all the time about if you don't like it, do something about it. Get better. You hear that talk about teams that are braggadocious and, flaunt and whatnot. If you don't like them, beat them. Get better. Well, that's the same, to me, that's the same logic I use with this. So what if Ohio State and Michigan are the two best teams? They play each other the last game of the year in 2024. They play again in the Big Ten championship game in Indianapolis or wherever it is. Who cares? If they're the best teams, they deserve it. And if Michigan State and Penn State are the two best teams, USC, UCLA, Wisconsin, Minnesota, if they're the two best, they got the best records, they earn that chance to go to the Big Ten championship game. Let them play back-to-back. That is the most ridiculous argument I have ever heard. Let them play. And I just, I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see what USC and UCLA brings to the Big Ten. Let's face it, the days of tradition, as much as I hate to say it, I'm a traditionalist. I love the fact that Michigan and Ohio State are still playing at noon on the last game of the year. But the days of tradition have gone by the wayside. It's all about the Bucks. Logistically or not, that's why Maryland and Rutgers are in the Big Ten. It's not because they're good. It's because they get the market of New York and Washington, D.C. into the Big Ten. And that's why the USC and UCLA are doing it. And I still think once Oregon and once Washington sees, the exposure that Michigan or USC and UCLA are getting, don't be surprised if they make the jump, probably in 2026 or 2027. A lot of that's going to depend on the conference or the Big 12 or the Pac-12 or soon to be Pac-10 TV deal. and if they're going to get the billions that the Big Ten is getting in the SEC. The two big boys are the Big Ten and the SEC, so it's going to be fun to watch this as it all entails. We're going to close tonight, or actually before we do, I got to give props to Oklahoma. Last night, they clinched their third straight NCAA softball championship, 53 wins in a row for Oklahoma. They are by far the queens of college softball, one of the most impressive runs in all of college sports history. I don't think it's the most impressive, but it's right up there. And congratulations to them with their swagger. Some call it arrogance, whatever. Again, we just talked about it a moment ago. If you don't like it, there's one way to curtail it, and that's beat them. And, I watched a couple of interviews about that. They're not necessarily trying to rub it in to the other team. That's just how they are. And, well, you know what? Excitement, everybody likes it. Everybody likes demonstrative celebrations now. You see it in the NFL. You see it in college football, NBA, whatever. It is it's sports right now. And that's another thing as a traditionalist you got to get used to. You may not like it, but it's not going away anyway anytime soon. But not to take away anything from the dominance of the play, but it's crazy. You listen to the interviews with the head coach last night and a couple of the players, the relief, the amount of pressure that was on for them to win that championship. They put a lot on it themselves, and part of that is the braggadocious celebrations, the swagger. That I believe kind of carried, that extra load of pressure, and they were able to overcome it. They got a lot of players coming back for next year to try to go for the four-peat, if you will. So congratulations to the Oklahoma Sooners and their third straight women's national championship. And it was fun to watch. They're a great team. They deserve to win. We're going to close the show here tonight with a couple of topics real quick. MLB, Boston, New York, they get to renew their rivalry this weekend as Boston finds themselves now in last place in the AL East, one game under 500. But hey, if they had that record, they'd be leading the AL Central, because that's what Minnesota has right now. Kind of tell you the competitive imbalance in the American League. It's one of those fluke years where you get one division with all the good teams, and the AL Central with our Detroit Tigers losing 6 straight, just getting outclassed, to say the least, by Philadelphia and the White Sox in their 6-game losing streak. Out hit for 7 in the third innings the other night. Tuesday night, or I'm sorry, Monday night, Tuesday night, or I'm sorry, last night or Wednesday night, because of the or Tuesday. I don't, with that haze, whatever. They got out hit for 4.5, no hit for 4.5 innings, and then last night, no hit for 7.5 innings. Were able to take the lead, and then Lang couldn't hold the lead in the 9th inning, so Philly with the sweep. Minnesota with a losing record, they have a 3.5 game lead, or 1.5 game lead, over Cleveland, 3.5 over Chicago and Detroit, who are 8 games under 500. Atlanta last night with the walk-off 3-run homer sends the Mets to a 6th straight loss. You'd think it was Armageddon in New York. You'd think they're all ready to jump off the Brooklyn Bridge over there. Their 6th straight loss. Atlanta with a 3.5 game lead over the surprising Miami Marlins, or Florida Marlins, or whatever you call them over there. So Atlanta looking strong. The Diamondbacks still with a 1.5 game lead. Texas with the best record, one of the best records in Major League Baseball, behind only the Tampa Bay Rays, with the devastating news of Jacob deGrom getting Tommy John surgery now. They're still on top of the American League West. So a lot of great action. Highlighted this weekend again, a rivalry renewed. Some would say it's the best rivalry in all of sports. I think that's just planted in the minds of all of us by the East Coast media bias, but Boston and the Yankees will highlight this week's Major League action. So kind of little snippet of Major League Baseball. Finally, this morning, the Iron Sheik passed away. Now, we talked about it at the top of the show. For those of us that have watched me over the years, you know that we have a penchant for pro wrestling. From time to time, we have it on the show just to kind of keep abreast on it. I've followed it for 50 years, with my dad, and and my son's big time in it. And you can say what you want about pro wrestling. Yeah, I know it's scripted. I know it's fake, whatever, but it's a widely followed phenomenon in a sport, if you will, the world of professional wrestling. And they lost one of their trailblazers over this past couple of days. The Iron Sheik passed away at the age of 81. He was instrumental in the boom of pro wrestling back in the early 80s, when it really came out from more of a novelty thing with the birth of sports entertainment. With back January 23rd, 1984, I can remember the date when Hulk Hogan beat the Iron Sheik at the Madison Square Garden. He with the he overcame the camel clutch, if you will, that the Iron Sheik made famous. The Iron Sheik was one of the best wrestling heels, bad guys, if you will, of all time. And he took that role and ran with it. And at a time when, it probably wasn't the safest thing in the world after what we went through with the Iranian hostage situation, and then with Desert Storm towards the early 90s, with his legendary feuds with Hulk Hogan, with Sergeant Slaughter, whatever. But he took that role and personified it. And his programs with Hulk Hogan in the 80s were huge, because Hulk Hogan went over on the Iron Sheik, and that started off what it was, Hulkamania, and it just helped explode the world of professional wrestling. And he was one of the trailblazers. If it wasn't for the Iron Sheik, the likes of him or Hulk Hogan or that, the pro wrestlers of today wouldn't be enjoying the success that they have now and the millions upon millions of dollars that they're making. So Iron Sheik led a tough life. He suffered from, some of the ills of the pro wrestling world back in the 80s with the drug scandals, and he was addicted to cocaine for a lot of years. And it cost him his he was estranged from his family for a while, and as were a lot of people with that lifestyle back in the 80s. And he was able to overcome that. And, he was never one to shy away from the spotlight, and right up until the end with his tweets, his social media. I can't repeat a lot what he said on there with his legendary feud with Hulk Hogan, but he was a character, and he's going to be missed. And again, we say condolences to his family. We'll be praying for them as well. Iron Sheik passed away at the age of 81. Well, hey, that's going to do it here for the Captain Lou Extravaganza on this Friday, the 9th of June. A lot going on in the world of sports. Game 4 in the NBA Finals. Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Tonight, it's the NBA's turn. Tomorrow, it's the Stanley Cup Finals. The Belmont is going to be run this weekend, weather permitting, with all the Canadian smoke. Hopefully, it will be able to be run this weekend. We've got Major League Baseball again, with the big rivalry highlighting it with the Yankees and the Red Sox. And, of course, next week, the U.S. Open. And, of course, the LIV talk with the merger with the DP World Tour and the PGA. That's going to spotlight it as well. So a lot going on this weekend. Take advantage of the great weekend, everybody. Get out and have some fun. Stay close to family, whatever. Do what you got to do, but enjoy yourself. Smile. It'll make the weekend go that much easier. I hope you have a great weekend, because I know I will. We want to thank everybody for joining us here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza on the Captain Lou Sports Network. We want to thank MahlerBros.com for being one of the sponsors of the show. Check out their website, MahlerBros.com. They'll help you look good. And when you look good, you feel good. When you feel good, you play good on the golf course. Check out their website. That's MahlerBros.com. And again, we want to welcome our newest member of the Captain Lou Extravaganza family, the Captain Lou Sports Network. That is Javi Coffee. Check out JaviCoffee.com, as they are the new latest and greatest sensation in instant coffee. It's easier than pods. It's much better tasting than instant coffee. 1 or 2 teaspoons, that's all you need. And check out their website. They've got a lot of amazing flavors, including French vanilla, caramel, regular coffee. You can enjoy it hot or cold. And when you see the website, make sure at purchase, make sure you use the promo code Captain Lou for 15% off of your purchase. That's JaviCoffee.com. All right, everybody. Enjoy the weekend. Have a lot of fun. Again, a reminder, this will be on podcast form later on this afternoon. If there's anything you missed on the show, subscribe to our network as well on YouTube, the Captain Lou Sports Network. And again, subscribe to where you find it. Anywhere you look for in your podcast, that is the Captain Lou Extravaganza. This reminder, keep your heads up, keep your sticks down, keep your minds open. And we'll talk to you on Monday. That's the Captain Lou Extravaganza here on the Captain Lou Sports Network. So long.